right, guys, the biggest key point today is just the understanding that your gym's not a charity. And today I'm going to show you why charging more is the key to sustainability in your business. And so, charging more does not make you greedy, it makes you sustainable. And when you're sustainable, you can serve people for longer. Now, the key to raising your prices is very, very simple. You have to have a healthy pipeline of new leads. Without leads, higher prices feel very scary, okay? Especially if you're going to do that on your current customers because you're afraid of losing them. And again, this is in my experience of running my own business. It's also in my experience of helping other gym owners do this exact thing. So, with leads, you can test new prices, you can increase them safely, and it allows you to keep growing. So, back in 2009, I used to charge $199 a month for 3 times a week training on month to month memberships. And so, right now, my lowest option is 3 times higher than that. And that's not even for 3 times a week. And we get people into longer term commitments. And so, here's the interesting thing that happened through that experience for me. The first thing is as my prices went up, um, it was almost like a law where I had to get better. I had to improve. And so because I was selling something that was, a lot more expensive, I felt like my sales skills had to complement that. They had to grow. Okay. I felt like my product had to improve to support that price increase. And then those extra margins, they gave me a lot of breathing room to deliver at a much higher level, which basically meant that I could bring in a team of people that were just as good as me to come in and work with our clients, and we wouldn't see any drop off in the experience. And so this is, one of my biggest pet peeves in the fitness and gym space right now. I think that there's a lot of people that are just spraying information without any context. So one of the things that I hear from people on podcasts, YouTube videos, Facebook ads is you just hear people saying, "Hey, just raise your prices." And the truth is that's not a strategy. It's just lazy advice. And so what you actually need is you need a process on how and when to raise your prices so that you don't shoot yourself in the foot. And embarrassingly, I've made every one of these mistakes that I'm going to share with you now, and I've learned from them. And so this doesn't come from a place of having it all figured out. It comes from a place of making the mistakes and then figuring it out. And so what I want you guys to think of is you only want to start raising your prices on new members. And so the idea is that you want to bump, if you're a personal training gym, bump your session price by $5 and prove to yourself that people are willing to buy it and that you can actually sell it. And I want you to keep raising your prices until your conversion rate dips. Now, if you're unfamiliar with tracking your conversion rate, if you sit with 10 people and you close 9 of them, it means that you have a 90% conversion rate. If you start to see that dip, um, you're going to want to invest in some sales training to be able to help you sell a higher ticket price point. And so I review this metric every single quarter and I come up with a strategy every single quarter to increase my prices, even if it's just a little bit, right? So we don't have to just do it per session price. If you're a health club, you can do it on a percentage increase as well. So every quarter, 3 to 5%, 2.5 to 5%. And again, you're watching your conversion benchmarks. And so the reason why I think this is super important is because with paid ads, the person that can spend the most to acquire a customer is going to be the one that has sustainability and longevity in the marketplace. And the reason is because if you're willing and able to spend more to acquire a customer and your competition can't, you eat up all the ad space. Eventually they just kind of bottom out because they're not able to keep up. And so I think that the reason we want to be charging the most is so that we can spend the most to acquire a customer. And again, we want to try to get our cost to acquire a customer very low. I'm not saying we want it as high as possible. We just want to be able to spend. We want to be able to spend the most to acquire it if we have to. So most gym owners never even try raising their rates. And one of the biggest experiences that I've had coaching other gym owners is really get into the understanding of why. when I initially meet them, they do not have a large amount of lead flow to be able to do this. And so that's exactly why I wrote the complete gym marketing playbook. And if you want a copy of it, I'll give it to you at the end of this training. And so basically, inside of that, I teach what's called the open framework. And so it just helps people never feel stuck again with leads. Because again, in order for you to raise your prices on new members, you have to have people to be able to sell to. So if you're struggling there, you're not getting enough leads, or you're unsure what your cost per lead should be, you're going to want to download a copy of that book. I think it's one of the best books. Obviously, I'm biased. It's one of the best books written on the actual topic. So step one is we want to raise our rates on all of our new members. Okay. So number two, once we've raised and we've tested the rates on our new members, we want to then move to our current members. So once you've proven that you can generate leads and you can sell at a higher price point, it's time to adjust the current member situation. So you can do yearly increases of 3 to 5%, or you could do a flat amount each year. And so the key is you have to be able to explain it clearly. You have to be able to tie it into rising costs, because they are absolutely happening for all of us. And you have to remind them of the value that they're getting. 3 to 5% increases every time that I've done it, nobody feels it. And if they do, I end up coming out on top if one or two people are frustrated about it, and you have 300 that are fine with it. You're going to end up coming out on top of that. So you don't ever want to make decisions for the minority. Majority of people are going to be fine with this. Again, now, but if you did a 25% increase, I don't think that that's justified. You can't justify that when it comes to rising costs. Okay. So step one is we want to work on our new members. Step two is we want to work on our current members. And I have scripts and all that on how to actually do this and have these conversations. I personally like to take it in batches of 10 or 20. That way I can have real conversations. I find that if I send an email out, it usually doesn't land well because people have no context. But if I sit with people and I explain why, everybody's very, very fine with it. And so just remember, like, especially with AI, we want to automate everything. I think one of the big skills of the future and one of the biggest leverage points that we're going to have in our businesses is actually getting in front of and talking to people. I think that that will be making a comeback, and it's 2025 right now, September of 2025. So if this is time stamped, I hope that that is true. And so now here's why I think increases matter. Okay. So your rent's going up, your utilities, your payroll, your insurance, it's all rising. So you're going to see a 4% annual rent increase, 6% utility cost. You're going to see a 3% increase, sometimes more if you're in a flood zone like I am in Florida and you get a flood on insurance premium increases. I saw that go up 25% one year, which was crazy. And so I don't think that gyms die from anything crazy catastrophic unless it's like, a natural disaster or an event like COVID. But even then, I find that a lot of the death of these gyms can be traced back to what I call death of a thousand paper cuts. And so if your rates stay flat, your business is slowly going to bleed out. And again, you're not going to die from one catastrophic event. You're going to die from these little chinks and these little cuts that you're not paying attention to year over year. And I think that not raising your rates is one of those cuts that we just don't pay attention to. We don't think it's a big deal. And so for you to grow your gym, the details matter, and you got to be paying attention to this every quarter. You have to have a plan of how you're going to attack it, and don't be lazy on attacking it. Don't just send out an email, right? If you have a big team, try to have your team communicate with all the members about these adjustments or about these changes. New people, it's easy. The rates are what they are. But for our current members, that's where I think things can get a little bit hairy. And so here's the thing. These are the standards that you need to be aiming for. Okay. So your goal should be the fact that you charge the most in your market for the product that you are offering. That should be your goal. Now, your product has to match that. You can't do that with a really awful product. So if people come in and your equipment's broken, obviously that's a ding. You don't have high quality staff. That's a ding, right? people don't feel like you're investing back into it with new technologies, or you're starting to see now a lot of places offer recovery services, right? In order for you to charge more, your product has to be in a premium position. And what's crazy is there's some gyms that are charging $1,000 a month out in California for general access. You have Equinox that charges 150 to 250 for general access and $200 a session, right? And so you can't tell me that it can't be done, but what makes them different is they have the perception of value off of those products is way, 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 way higher. And so now if you own a coaching gym, okay, it means that your coaching quality has to be better, your client experience has to get better, and the results that you deliver have to get better. And all these things need to be tracked, measured, and managed. And so if all of that's dialed in, people will happily pay more for a higher price point and a higher service. And so what I think this does is if you are at that standard of being the highest priced gym in your market, you're going to see your retention rates improve. And I think most importantly, you are going to be able to spend the most to acquire the customer. And again, if you can do that, that is how we have sustainability and longevity within the marketplace. Being the lowest priced, it gives you no freedom. It might feel beneficial for the customer, but they actually, in my experience, most don't get the results that they're looking for. And then on the flip side of that, the operator can't get out of operations. They're doing everything. They end up burning out. And, that doesn't, if you're burnt out, it doesn't sustain the message that you're trying to carry. And then financially, you're unable to hire the people that you need to hire. And you are also unable to pay yourself. And all of those things do not make your gym sustainable, which is the goal of this video. So now, if you guys want the confidence to be able to raise your prices, especially on new members, you have to have a steady flow of new leads. And so that's exactly what I'll show you how to do in the book that I wrote called The Complete Gym Marketing Framework. And basically, what it does is I teach a framework called the Open Framework, and it teaches you how to dominate your local market. So inside of this book, what you're going to learn is the open framework, which basically the O stands for how to create a compelling offer that attracts your ideal prospect. It teaches you how and what platforms you need to be using to advertise. So as an example, Facebook could be considered a flat platform. So could Google. So could a chiropractor. So could direct mail. So could a flyer, right? That is a platform. And the offer that we create, we need to try to figure out a way to make it work on the platform that we're trying to go with, right? And so the E stands for engaging creative. So this obviously has to speak to your avatar. So if you're a gym that works directly with women, you're probably going to want to have women in the video or the text. And then the last part, this is where I feel so many gyms really, really suffer, is the N, which is the nurture part. They don't understand how throughput works through their sales pipeline. So again, this is about, I think it's a 70 or 80 page book that I created, and there is a ton of value in it. And if you download it or you want a copy of it, all you have to do is comment on one of our videos, and we'll set up a chat with you to be able to get it. But the point is that if you go through that book, you're really going to understand how to generate more leads for your gym business. And if you do that, it gives you the confidence to actually raise your rates because you are sitting with more people and you are proving that people will buy your product or service at a higher rate. So I hope this training helps. And if you guys have any questions or comments, please make sure that you leave them down below. Thank you.